Welcome back to BrilliantFIT the Podcast. My name's Jay and I'm the creative producer. This is where we talk about all things BrilliantFIT and what it's like to work in today's modern day business climate. So whether you're working, managing or leading, we tackle it from all perspectives. So sit back, get comfy and let's see what today's episode has in store. We were talking earlier and you said that you wanted to approach it on two different fronts. So what are those?
Yeah, so I thought it'd be useful today just to talk about it from a kind of a development perspective.
Developing people?
Yeah, developing people perspective. And then secondly, I'll touch on it also from a perspective of hiring people.
Yes.
Right, and the difference between talent and character in those kind of notions as well.
Very, very true. You'd be the man to talk to, given that those two areas are the two key areas in BrilliantFIT and how we unlock those areas. So,
yeah. So there's a statement I coined some time ago, and I've used it in different ways, but effectively means that your talents will take you to a place where your character will not sustain.
Okay. I mean, I can see why you coined it. It gives you tingles when you hear it.
Yeah. Well, it came out of a series of things I was doing with companies and individuals, and working with them there, and just see so many, and there's so many public examples of this, which we'll mention in due course as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But obviously in BrilliantFIT we focus a lot on understanding and activating and releasing, right, the talents that people actually have.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a core focus because, I inherently believe that there's a vast majority of talent sitting in organisations that's not tapped. And so hence the focus of what we've actually done. But character is so important, right, as a part of developing those talents.
I was going to say, just for the purpose of this conversation, what are you specifically referring to when you're talking about character?
So character is very much the personal choices you make.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. The values you carry, the things that you consider virtuous, right, and the consistency by which you actually kind of make core decisions under pressure in life.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? When you've got lots of different choices, what character choices are you making here?
Yeah.
Right? How are they affecting your life? And we make them all the time. We just don't often consider them as character choices.
Yeah.
Right? But it is very much a choice.
Yeah.
In where talents is completely different in the sector of. I love John Maxwell. John Maxwell he's a leadership guru in the US.
Okay.
And he made a statement that really caught my attention a while ago. He said, talents are a gift. Character is a choice.
Oh, good.
Talents are a gift and character is a choice. And I thought that is so true. So talents are those things that we often talk about, obviously in BrilliantFIT. What are the talents that you wake up with every morning? What comes perfectly naturally to you?
Right.
What do you excel at? When you're doing something 10 out of 10, what are those things that make that up? Are you a brilliant planner?
Yep.
Right? Do you just sequence and plan things and structure things in the way you work so it flows and and you can forward plan and you never miss things and things are always super organised? Are you that kind of person? Right? That's a natural talent.
Yeah.
Being able to visualise and see strategically, talk down the road and say, that's where we need to go in the next 3 to 5 years. Right? And be able to picture it.
Yeah.
Right? That's a talent. Being very decisive is a talent. Right? Being very collaborative is another talent. Right? So that's, how you want to make decisions. Do you want to make them on your own? Very independent decision maker. Or do you want to actually socialise the idea, talk it through, bounce ideas off other people, get the wisdom in the room, all of those kind of things.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. Even empathy and just being people focused in your decision making, as opposed to being results focused. You'll have different people on either end of the scales, and both are strengths, as we've talked about many times before.
Yeah, they're different sets of talents. Are you focused on people, or are you focused on results?
Exactly.
Right? Different element. Doesn't mean we can't have a people element when we're focused on goals and things like that, but we naturally tend to have a preference unless we're perfectly in the middle.
Exactly, unless we're in the adaptive
when we're very
range.
adaptable, and that's a talent in itself.
Exactly.
In what you do. So all of those things are what we call natural talents.
Yeah.
Right? And we've often seen them take people to places where people are lauded for their talent.
Oh, lauded. What is lauded?
Right? Celebrated. Right?
Cool. Awesome.
Right? For their talent.
Yeah.
Whether you like Elon Musk or not, he's obviously highly intelligent, but he uses that intelligence in a particular way, which I consider a high level of resourcefulness. So he's not only got great ideas, but he has a habit of being able to bring people and ideas and concepts together in a way that many other people can't.
Exactly. He makes things happen that a lot
He
of
makes
other
things
people
happen.
don't.
He takes huge risks.
Yes.
But he seems to have, more of a gambit. He pulls more off than he not.
Yes.
And
Or at
obviously
least pulls more off than other people.
Yeah. And he does it probably more regularly than other people.
True.
But there's aspects of his character that you may not like. Right? So he's highly lauded for, being the entrepreneur, being the guy who's prepared to push the boundaries.
Right.
And that's brilliant in itself. So he hasn't necessarily come unstuck on the character side, and I'm not questioning his character at all.
Right.
Because I think there's aspects I've heard different elements of his speak in lots of different ways, and there's some very good, strong character aspects to who he is.
Yeah, I guess it depends on which conversation you're having as to whether it plays well for people or not.
Yeah. But there are many, many other examples. I'm reminded when I was thinking about this podcast of Bill Clinton. Right? He's a remarkable figure, hugely talented man.
Right.
Not just from a intellect perspective, but his ability his presence.
Okay.
Right. A friend of mine was when I was living overseas. He was invited to go to one of Bill's trade missions, and at the time Bill was actually in China speaking, and so he had a front row seat basically to hear Bill Clinton and Al Gore at the time, and they were doing on a trade mission or flying through China.
Yeah.
And he said, he came and reported to me later, and he said the pure presence of Bill Clinton is tangible.
Okay.
He said when that guy walked into the room, the atmosphere changed.
You felt it.
He felt it.
Okay.
When he started engaging people and the way he looked and the way he did things, and he said I was not overly a fan prior to things, but he said he has huge talent.
Right. He still felt like he had to admit that.
He absolutely had to admit that. He said that guy has got enormous talent.
So what do you think? And so this is what you're saying is you feel like Bill Clinton just naturally had that as a talent.
Well, yeah, he is. His capacity to engage people.
Right.
He's an orator, but probably not at the level that Barack Obama was.
Okay.
Right. But his ability to influence and to engage people was phenomenal.
Right. It was captivating.
He's captivating.
Yeah.
Now, he took that, right, and he used it for his advantage.
Okay.
Right. But his character was not able to sustain where his talents naturally took him.
I understand.
Now, his talents took him to the White House.
Yeah.
Right.
But his character.
But his character let him down.
Yeah.
Right. And the choices character is a thing that the choices when we make when no one is watching us.
Yeah, true.
What are those choices? Right. What are the things that we hold high enough to do regardless of what people are looking on?
Right, because I guess that essentially is what governs us as individuals.
Correct.
Because it's not just about, you're talking about beyond the public eye, beyond
Correct.
even when we're with our closest people. It's literally when we're on our own.
Yeah. So what are those kind of things? Consequently, the opposite was after Bill Clinton spoke, Al Gore got up there and spoke.
Yeah.
Now, Al Gore is very fractions shorter than Bill Clinton, but not much. He's a big guy.
Right.
Right. But he said the presence was just totally different. The guy's really technical, right? He's not engaging.
I was going to ask, I don't know much about him, but am I right in some people find the presence boring?
Well, yes, his ability was just nowhere near the level that Bill's was,
right,
to capture and engage an audience.
Yeah.
I suspect he's a lot more technical,
True.
and he knows a lot more of the facts than perhaps Bill does.
Right, yeah, no,
but
because he's known for being very smart in certain areas.
Right,
yeah.
But the level of difference between the two people were very significant.
Right.
Okay.
Especially in a public space, like you'll feel that difference immediately.
Enormously. And given the contrast, it was so significant to my friend who's sitting on the front row going, my goodness me, I've never seen such
this is so stark
difference in reality. And yet, Bill wasn't able to sustain it.
Yeah.
Right? Because the character in him and the choices that he's made and, through his life had not built that place where he could sustain it.
Right.
And there are many, many others who I think we've got the Bernie Madoffs of this world who, obviously took a lot of people's money in, were very good at fleecing people, were very good at engaging them, talking about great plans to invest and all this kind of stuff, and got an enormous amount of people involved in his scheme.
Yeah.
But his character is based on greed.
Yeah.
Right? And he ripped off, many, many, many thousands of people.
Yeah.
And his empire fell.
Yeah.
And there's so many more examples, whether it's in our political life, of our politicians, of our leaders in so many different ways, and even, in organisations, if we bring it back to that level.
Yeah.
There's so much importance in the character of people.
Absolutely. Right? Anyone you look up to, not even just looking up to, it's anyone that you work alongside.
Yeah. You want them to have a really strong character.
Yeah.
Right? You really want them to make those key decisions when no one's looking.
Yeah.
That are good for the individuals around them, that are good for the people that they're serving.
Absolutely.
I'm such a strong supporter of servant leadership in the sense that, we're here to serve. As a leader, you're not there to be served, you are there to serve.
Right.
Whether it's your team and to maximise the value of the contributions, the broader organisation, your peers, how do you support and work together?
Leading by example.
Leading by example, all of those kind of things.
Yeah.
And it takes character. It takes, those really strong choices to make.
Yeah.
When no one's watching. Right?
Yeah.
Do you go the extra mile? Do you put that extra effort in when people say, well, no one would know whether I did or not?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's a character choice.
Yeah.
Do you do things to a really high standard consistently, or do you only do it when people are watching you?
Yeah. Right. Do you turn on the money when the camera's on?
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And there's people who make those kind of choices, and I see them all the time in organisations.
I was going to say, that's got to be a very common thing, given the notion of whether you're just a number on a seat or, I guess, the attitude at work as well. There's a lot of people who they see it as just a place to clock in, clock out. That's
character in itself.
Yeah.
Right? The attitudes that we carry and what we do and how we input. So from a team perspective, do I just see this as a job I turn up for? Or do I see it as a way of investing my talents and contributing to a greater good?
I should clarify on that in the sense that I'm not saying if you clock in, clock out, that's a bad character trait. I don't mean that at all. There are plenty of people that have a job that is more of a clock in, clock out nature, and they still bring a great character to work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So those two do not go hand in hand necessarily.
No. I was more referring to the attitude.
Exactly.
Right? That you might carry, right, in what you do. But if I lead it on from there to see the impact it has, most leaders, I think, sometimes leaders forget, right?
Sure.
The impact of some of these choices. People see way more than we think they do.
Yeah.
Right? They really do. And if you're leading a team and you're starting to make these choices, they tend to come through because you project that.
Yes.
You project that character into the leadership that you have.
Tend to find the longer you're in a position of leadership as well, the more, naturally you're human, the more comfortable you can get and the more unaware of how much people see.
Yeah.
can follow.
Yes. Hopefully it goes the other way and you
Yeah,
actually
true.
realise, right, as you grow and get more wise, that it goes the other way. But yes, some people do seem to get very comfortable in that.
Yeah.
And try and protect themselves and protect what other people see. But people see right through people,
Yeah.
right? And we often forget that, and we think we
that's true.
can hide it. But character is such an important thing.
It is.
So talents will take you to places that your character won't sustain unless you've gone through, and in those life experiences and those key hard choices, you continue to make the right choice. Right, and it's one of those refining processes. Character always seems to have a refining process, and life throws a lot of stuff at us.
Absolutely.
Right, how do we respond in this situation? We just think, well, we've got that one nailed now, right, and then something else comes along and we get thrown off by the same thing.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to continue to build that character, right, along with developing your talents.
I was just about to say that probably leads me to the key question is, what would your advice be on how to best develop your character to match, I guess, where your talents can take you?
Well, truly understand the values that you're prepared to live to,
Okay.
right? And really the choices around about it, and thinking, well, I'm making, make decisions in the long term, not the short term.
Yeah, not
So
just
have
the
a,
short term.
be very intentional in your decision making,
Okay.
and live to your values,
Yeah.
whatever those values are. Live to them. Be really consistent in what you do and how you do it,
Yeah.
right? Because when you're consistent in that character choices, right, then people understand, and your talents can rise, and your character rises because it's continuing being developed.
Yeah.
Because it is developed through consistency
Yeah, absolutely.
and the choices you make and the virtues you hold.
Yeah.
If we turn around now to recruiting, it's a really interesting aspect. I came across a friend a while ago who was lamenting, right, the choice that they'd made around an executive, a senior executive,
Oh, yeah. Okay. I can
in their
understand
organisation, and they got very excited in the hiring process that this person had enormous talent, and they did. They had great talent.
that the fit to the role.
They had a great fit to the role,
Okay.
right? And they had great experience to go with that fit to the role.
Okay.
However, there was a small question around a couple of their responses to things which were character related.
In the interviews. Yeah. Okay.
They said when we look back, we should have picked it up.
Right. Did they feel like they noticed them, almost felt like they were red flags, and ignored them because they were excited, or
Yeah.
did they not actually notice them?
No, they in hindsight they said that actually there were flags,
Okay.
and we didn't pick them up because we were
Right.
excited about getting this person getting these kind of skill sets.
I know I'm naturally wired to be guilty of that.
Right.
I'm easily excitable,
Right.
especially in a people sense. So I could definitely relate to that situation.
Yes, so they went through this process, thought they got a fantastic person, and I think it was like 3 months in that some of these core, character traits started to reveal themselves. And within 6 months, they were in a serious problems.
So was it a big culture mismatch? Like they really didn't match the
No, it was
culture?
personal character choices of this individual.
Oh, okay. So it's just it was blatant things that were just
Yeah,
not
this
okay.
this person thought it was quite okay to do certain things,
Wow. Okay.
and it was not okay
Yeah.
in any context that we would naturally accept to be. The way they treat people,
Yeah.
the lack of respect they had for certain people,
Yeah.
and in the end, they had to let the person go.
Yeah.
Now, as part of that process, not only is that costly, it actually was super costly
Yeah.
because they had to pay this person out, and there was a whole lot of legal ramifications.
Right.
So not only is it damage to the brand, which was very significant in this case because they were a very senior person,
Right.
right? So if you're doing a C-suite appointment,
Yeah.
right, it has a very significant impact.
It's a big deal. It's a public arrangement. Like.
Yeah, I think it was Myers. I had an example in the last couple of years
Okay.
where a senior person was appointed,
Yeah.
and they made all these statements around their skill base and those kind of things, and people got quite excited. But fundamentally someone forgot to check the references. Or they checked some and not all of them.
Not the key ones.
And this person had not worked at the locations that they had actually said they worked.
It was straight up lied.
Straight up lie.
Wow.
Right? And they'd fabricated their history.
Yeah.
And it wasn't uncovered until the owner of one of the stores in Europe, where they said they had experience, actually contacted the chairman or the board or whatever and said, I hear you actually made a recent appointment with so-and-so. Just letting you know, I heard reference in a media release that person's worked at our company. They haven't.
Oh, wow. So it just blatantly came out of the woodwork.
Correct. And if this person hadn't seen it and had been switched on,
they never would have.
They wouldn't have known.
Wow.
And so obviously that became a huge embarrassment because they said, did we not ask the right questions? The headhunting company, didn't they do their job? And in the end, the guy was immediately sacked.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to say, people, don't lie on your resume.
That's really, really poor character.
Yeah, it's not a good character choice.
But simply, in what we do we lie or not? So I was reading an article the other day that made this statement that 35% of people lie on their resume.
Yeah. I mean, I understand it if people are like a little bit of pump yourself up, but there's a big difference between that and, saying that they have done something that you haven't.
Yeah, if you say you've got experience in a certain area and you haven't, right, that is a significant issue.
Yeah, that's
a character issue.
That's not a stretch.
No, that's not a stretch, right? It's a slight difference if I was coordinating something to managing something.
Exactly.
Right? Subtle difference.
Right.
Better to stick with the truth. I was coordinating something rather than I was the lead manager.
Exactly.
Right. But I understand that, people want to express themselves in a very positive light.
Yeah.
And some of us say, oh, you're leading this or you're doing that. And so there's a little bit of room around some of that.
Yeah.
But there's not around saying you've actually done stuff or you have skill sets you don't have.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And that's important because that's character. What am I prepared to do to get somewhere?
Yeah.
Right? And there's so many examples of that. You do not want people with a low character set, right? Or low level of character in your business. Because if they're prepared to make those choices to get the job, what decisions and what choices are they going to make while in the job?
Exactly right. That's what makes me think of as well, because it purely comes down to if you're exaggerating or if you're straight up lying about things that are needed for the job, like they're often put directly in the job ad. And then you get there and you don't have that experience or you don't have those talents or whatever it is, you're immediately starting yourself with like holes in your floor. And even if you manage to fill them, exactly what you said, you're coming through the door with a character that really, whether people know it or not, they can't fully trust. So it's like
I encourage companies all the time, hire for character, train for skills if they're not at the level.
Oh, I like that. Say that again.
Hire for character and train for skills.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to have a certain level of talent to be able for the skill to land in.
Yeah.
Right? But you can train up all of those things.
Yeah.
Extremely difficult to train character.
That's true. That's very true.
Because character is a consistent set of choices that you make about living to your values. And if people don't have a strong value set to live from, they make very wayward decisions around the character.
I feel like even if a character does change, it's over a much longer period of time.
It does. It's not like training for a skill set.
No.
You go from here to here to here in a relatively short period of time.
Exactly.
Character takes a long time to develop and a long time to change if you've got a bad character and changing to good. Right? Rarely do you go from good to bad. But usually you just don't make the right choices to start on the right path. But it's pretty consistent, in the choices you make to get to that place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to not be afraid of the people that may take a little bit longer to train in the skills department, because I know that can be a hesitation for companies. Is sometimes they feel like, they're not a super quick learner. Super quick learners are awesome to have to the ground running. So in certain circumstances, amazing, exactly what you want. other circumstances, it sometimes can be a real win to have the people that take a little longer, but once they have it, they're like rock solid.
And they're usually very loyal.
Exactly.
Because you've invested in them.
Like you're investing in a long-term choice.
Yeah. I was only talking to someone who heads up an organisation recently, and they were talking about, we decided to invest in this young person, right? They didn't have the skill set that we wanted, but they had enough of the character that we actually saw.
Yeah.
We thought, I want to give this person a real go.
Yeah.
And 3 months later, they said, they are killing it.
Right.
They are one of the hardest workers we've got. Right? They're investing in their own skill set. They're investing in what we want them to.
Yeah.
They're very teachable.
Yes.
And it's just so fantastic to see.
Right. And what an open approach that individual is most likely to have.
Yeah.
Because they're hard on character, which is something that, is very much close to who you are as a person. And then this company straight off the bat has said, like, we back you, we'll pay for you to learn, what you need to, and we just want to see you succeed, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what a way to start.
And it was good. And the fact that this person also didn't present well, necessarily.
Okay.
Right? And so they talked to a number of people about them, and they said, no, they're actually really good. They're pretty nervous in front of an interview process.
Okay.
But they said outside of that, they're great.
In the actual workplace.
Yeah, in the workplace, they're fine. But you put them in front of people and try and get them to perform, then they're nowhere near as strong.
Right.
And that's a development area for them.
Absolutely.
So that was a good feedback for the person who was interviewing.
Yeah.
To go, hey, okay. Just because we often get excited about who we see across the table.
Yeah.
And, that hiring bias often comes through.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I like what I see in you and it reminds me of what I enjoy about myself, then you're a good person.
Right.
I like you.
Yeah.
Right? You'll fit fantastic in my team.
Yeah.
Right? In the way that we work. But there's so much around that aspects of a character and talent that's really important to differentiate.
Absolutely.
So talent is the base that we actually bring to a natural job. Skills are what we have actually kind of used that talent for and developed into, which then determines the level of competency, if you like, of how good are we at using those particular talents. Then the character around the choices we make in using the talents.
Yeah.
So they all build together, right? And one is probably more important than the other, and that's probably character, right? But both are important to have.
Absolutely.
In what you do. So my encouragement to organisations, go after that strong character, make sure you've got the right talent base to work with as well, and then develop the skill sets. And you'll get some fantastic hires in the process.
Spot on. What a convo.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Mal. This has been terrific.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay.